Good morning. Can you see and hear me okay?
I can.
Thank you.
I can't. I can't hear you, Tim, if you were trying.
Good morning.
Good morning. You might want to hit your blind there. You've got an interesting track on you there.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'll try to avoid it.
I say keep it.
Sort of a side halo effect.
All right, Tim, I'm going to show you what I'm going to be able to see real quick when we come to your portion of the meeting.
You are live streaming so that you know
Okay.
everything live.
All right. Thank you for that. I'm going to make sure, hold on, I'm going to make sure that this plays sound.
We are the dreamers.
Did y'all hear that?
Yep.
Okay, good. And are you going to want the
Yep.
that first, Tim?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Or do you want the issue paper first and then this?
Why don't you do the issue paper, then the data sheet,
Okay.
and then the video, and lastly the landing page.
Landing page. Okay,
That's the build something now .com, I think, or .net.
okay, so well, you said issue paper
Yep.
first, then which
The data sheet.
data sheet, which is this,
Yep.
then the video.
Correct.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Tobe.
Mhm.
Do you have time to pivot to me now, Tobe?
I can. Is there anything that do you have besides your issue paper?
The issue paper, and then there should be a picture with it of us with Governor Kelly.
Okay, I don't have that. Would you add it to the presentations folder?
It's in the folder.
Okay.
It's in the, yeah.
All right. We can take some of this offline if we need to.
Okay. Sorry. Yep.
I'm gonna stop sharing.
Well,
Morning.
Good morning, Ray.
Okay, I'm connected. Thank you.
Yes, you are. We can see and hear you.
All right.
Hi, Cindy.
Hi, morning, Ray.
Hi, Cindy. Morning, Dave.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Excuse me?
How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
You up and at it?
No thanks. Yep. So,
Good morning, Curtis.
Good morning. How are you, sir?
Good. How about yourself?
Doing okay. Nice to
How's
see
your
you.
job going?
Oh, pretty well.
Yeah. Good.
Anytime I can hear jets roaring outside my window, then it's a good day.
Exactly. Good morning, Deb.
Hi, Ray. Hi, all.
Good to see you.
Thanks. Thanks. It's good to see everyone else as well. So before we start, I want to say thank you to Rita and all the TEA team and to team members for their thoughts and for their recognition. Thank you.
You're welcome. Prayers continue, Deb.
Thank you.
Morning, Natalie.
Good morning.
I think I saw Mark Hess on there. Are you on, Mark?
I am. Good morning, Ray.
Good morning.
Vice Chair Frederick, this is Susan Henry, and we do have 8 members on the line thus far, so you do have a quorum. I have yourself, Member Hess, Member Hoover, Member McCulka, Member Rice, Member Sneeden, Member Clark, and Member Schultz.
And good morning. This is Dr. Anderson. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
All right, with that said, I'd like to call the February 29th, 2024 Kansas Post-Secondary Technical Education Authority meeting to order, and a good morning to everyone. Since we are Zooming this meeting, please bear with me as I do a commercial. This TEA meeting is regularly scheduled a conference call meeting being held via Zoom. Please mute your microphone. TEA members, board staff, or institutional staff who have comments or questions should ask to be recognized. Everyone other than the recognized speaker should keep their microphones muted. Each time you are recognized to speak, please state your name and your title before you begin so that you can be readily identified by listeners as well as observers. For each action item, I will state a motion and ask if someone will make that motion. For each motion made, I will then ask for a second. For each motion made and seconded, I will ask Susan to call roll to determine how each TEA member is voting and to announce the results of the vote. We will not do a roll call vote for approval of the minutes, and we do not need a motion, second, or vote for recess or adjournment unless a TEA member requests one. We will not have an opportunity for public comment during this meeting. We will not have an executive session during today's meeting. So with all that said, first item is approval of the minutes from our January 25th, 2024 meeting. Are there any changes to the minutes?
Mr. Chair, Curtis moves to approve.
Thank you, Curtis. Is there a second?
Second, this is Dr. Anderson.
Thank you. Any opposed? If not, the minutes are approved. Thank you. Okay, do we have any introductions this morning that need to be made? I'll take that as a no. So we're going to skip the chair's report and move on to member liaison reports. Does anyone have, the TA members have a report on their activities?
Okay, now this time I waited because I always have something to say, but I wanted to make sure everybody else had an opportunity.
We were waiting for you. So.
All right, and I will be very brief about activities that are going on. And if you're in Topeka and you happen to see the news last night, you saw students across Shawnee County at Advisors Excel learning all kinds of business etiquette opportunities, getting internships, and all of those other great pieces. We're excited. Phlebotomy has started here in at TCalc as a partnership at no cost to us. Stormont Vale has continued to offer, and they're paying their staff to come to a school district. This is a model that could be replicated anywhere, and their nurses are the teachers for the students. and they're not asking us to pay for the nurses. And it's pretty powerful. So they actually presented at KSB and I think at a KSDE conference. I think I said KSB, but I think KSE conference. I think Ms. Clark and others were there listening to them present the last month or two. So it's a pretty powerful business partnership. And our hope is to really have greater numbers of businesses who are paying their employees to help educate their future workforce, basically. We're excited that Forge, the young professionals here across this region that are part of the Greater Topeka Partnership, they, as a follow-up, are now going to be sponsoring their own business partnership mentors right there in the CTE building. So that kicks off with 100 or so Forge folks. So we're excited about just what's upcoming, or at least 100 or so students that will be connecting with Forge mentors. And these are all the business professionals in the area. Keeping in mind, TCAL, for those that don't know it, you leave with the industry credential and college hours as part of a supplemental piece that we're doing here in Topeka. So that's just a TCAL piece that we wanted to mention. I will turn it on over to the other members who may have other items. Excited about the activities of the new dean who stopped by and had an opportunity to meet with me as he's stopping by all of the other districts as well. So we're excited about some expansion we anticipate doing with Washburn Tech as well. I'll turn it back on over to you, Chair Frederick.
All right, thank you. Pretty exciting stuff going on in your district and in the Topeka area. So congratulations. So anyone else have a report? All right, if not, we're going to move ahead in our agenda. And next is we're going to hear from Vice President Rita Johnson. And Rita, you're going to give us an update on workforce development.
Well, I am. I'm going to give you a brief synopsis of some of the recent activity within the unit. During the week of February 13th, Director Martinez was invited to attend the Texas Association for Literacy and Adult Education Conference, and he was their keynote speaker and shared his own personal story. He also visited with their board of directors about leadership and participated in a student panel. He was also able to visit with their state director regarding some of the initiatives Texas has developed in recent years, one of which is an international trained professionals program, which provides services designed to help people who speak other languages and have degrees from their home countries. These services include getting ready for professional exams to measure skills, getting advice on the job market, taking English classes connected to specific jobs. They also have a level up program that gives eligible adult learners a boost by providing tuition and academic support as they pursue occupations in high demand career fields. Our own state adult ed annual conference was held this week here in Topeka with a pre-conference program leaders meeting conducted by our staff on Monday. And Dr. Blake Flanders was the keynote speaker, and the conference culminated in an award ceremony that was held just yesterday afternoon at the Capitol. On February 12th and 13th, a Bridging Success with Enrollment and Retention Strategies training session was conducted in Wichita. In collaboration with the Kansas Center for Career and Technical Education out of Pittsburgh, our Perkins staff hosted this two-day training to provide access and equity tools and strategies for our colleges. Instructors from the National Alliance for Partnerships in Equity led participants in discussions focusing on using statewide and local data, identifying access and performance gaps among different student populations, recognizing micro messaging, which are those unintended, sometimes nonverbal bias cues that we're not aware of, discovering root causes for inequity, and looking for strategies to close performance gaps. The colleges recently completed the process of conducting their comprehensive local needs assessments and are preparing to update and submit their four-year Perkins applications in May. This training reinforced the findings of those local needs assessments and laid the foundation for the upcoming application work. There were 62 participants from 25 institutions present, and this group included Perkins coordinators, administrators, CTE faculty from various occupations, CTE faculty who teach in correctional institutions, adult ed providers, and institutional research staff. Our staff also assisted with answering questions and outlined requests and needs for future training. On March 4th, NAEP will provide a follow-up webinar to answer any outstanding questions from those who participated. And okay, and lastly, since I started, I've heard about this broadband activity that was happening down in Commerce, and I finally got a handle on it. As part of the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, the Kansas Office of Broadband Development is administering and overseeing implementation of a program called Broadband Equity Access and Deployment, or BEAD. This program will bring $451.7 million to Kansas for the purpose of building out broadband networks across our state. Specifically, grants will be awarded to internet service providers with the goal of providing fast, reliable internet connectivity to every unserved and underserved location in Kansas over the next 5 years. The Broadband Office is partnering with our Workforce Division, and we're now in the process of developing a memorandum of understanding to outline just what actions and deliverables will be necessary to meet these goals. And on Monday, February 9th, Directors White and Martinez met with key partners to begin development of the MOUs. And this was like a 3-hour meeting that was held down in Commerce, and so they're getting things going. A few of the potential action items that were noted in an initial draft included developing, supporting, or promoting the creation of 2 more broadband technician training programs in Kansas, reviewing the list of industry recognized training providers from the Broadband Office as potential resources to quickly implement short-term certification programs, longer-term registered apprentice, and 2-year associate degree programs, and to explore shorter-term certification or boot camp style tracks that will allow existing and prospective employees to upskill themselves quickly to address these early needs. The Kansas Board of Regents, through our colleges, will engage with the Kansas broadband industry and general construction contractors to ensure quality, relevance, and usefulness of existing developed or implemented curriculum. Will inventory and identify related programs that already exist, and to assist all agencies with engagement and promotion and recruitment. Throughout the work mentioned above, seek out and employ opportunities to involve covered populations in these job sectors, including but not limited to women, minorities, justice-affected individuals, tribal members, members of the military, and so forth. And to ensure compliance with the federal guidelines, regular reporting on use of funds and progress of activities and outcomes from these activities will be required. Tracking reporting needs will probably include increasing enrollments, completions, certifications, employment that result directly from the funded activities. As we will continue to provide periodic updates to the TEA and to the colleges directly on this initiative as specific responsibilities, expectations, and deliverables are established. A target date to have a completed MOU is sometime in June. So I just giving you a heads up of kind of what's going to be happening. And I think once the MOUs are all signed, things may begin happening rather quickly, like in the fall. So, but we will keep you all updated as we find out more information, we'll be happy to share it. Thank you very much. That's it.
Well, thank you, Rita. I tell you, that sounds like a wonderful opportunity for not only our state, for many entities within the state too. So
Absolutely. And that's a lot of money and we want to get our share.
I agree. Be careful about Mike Bean, though.
I
when you talk about money. So,
I know.
anyway. Well, thank you, Rita. Good report, and we'll look forward to more details as time goes on too with that. So,
okay.
All right, we're going to move on. Next, we have a report from the community colleges and President Ryan Ruda, Garden City. Welcome, and we're anxious to hear your report.
All right. Good morning, everybody. This morning, our report, as each month, we take a chance to really reflect and look back at different aspects of the Board of Regents strategic plan. This month, we'll be looking at the pillar of family, specific to access, affordability, and success. So highlighting just some community colleges and some of the areas across the state. At Pratt Community College, focusing specifically on affordability and access, highlighting their work within the Promise Act. They have increased their numbers participating in the Promise Act from 30 students in academic year 21-22 to 74 students during this current academic year. So continued work there on being able to connect students to this great scholarship program. They've also at Pratt been able to expand welding and automotive programs at outreach sites in Kingman and Attica, and are providing district scholarships for residents of Pratt County, as well as concurrent classes in service area high schools to address affordability. They have a long, strong history of student success at Pratt, and just highlighting specifically on most recent data that came from the Board of Regents report. Pratt Community College associate degree graduates average 46,958 in their first year of employment earnings, which is the highest among the two-year sector and higher than the average salary of state university bachelor's degree graduates as well. At Independence, they recently embarked on a economic impact study through Lightcast, and this data was reflected of academic year 21-22. Specifically from that economic impact study, they determined that their return on investment, students will receive a cumulative value of $40 million in increased earnings over their lifetime from the education and degrees received at Independence. Specifically, this averages an annual rate of return of just over 26%. The other aspects there within Independence, talking in regards to access, are that during the fall of 22, they had 21% of their students that were enrolled fully online, as well as a mixture of students that were in online and face-to-face, but specifically pointing out some unique aspects at Independence with their Fab Lab. Their Fab Lab does specific engagement opportunities and activities for elementary students in STEAM activities, so science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And they're partnering with local school districts to do after-school programs once a month to be able to connect them to career opportunities in STEAM. They've also received 2 specific grants, one that is working on rural outreach and one that is working specifically on addressing veteran student success at Independence Community College to help with accessing higher education. At Hutchinson Community College, they are serving just over 1,000 students a year in Excel and CTE. And specifically, in addition to that, they have a very robust apprenticeship program. They have over 150 students that are in their apprenticeship programs that align with industry and employers to be able to help in offsetting the costs and upskilling and training individual partners in industry there in Hutchinson. They've also been doing an extended amount of work in increasing open educational resources, which provide free access to course materials for students in lieu of purchasing textbooks. So again, speaking to affordability work that is being done at Hutchinson Community College. Additionally, with access, they have worked through the Hutchinson Community or the Corrections Facility, and they have over 100 students a year that are going and attaining their GED instruction through Hutchinson Community College at the correctional facility, as well as 100 students that are continuing on and being able to seek training in post-secondary education and technical training at the correctional facility as well. At Johnson County Community College, wanted to highlight a partnership that Johnson County Community College embarked on this past year, where they were leveraging ARPA funds that came from the County of Johnson to be able to provide scholarships. So they received over $1.1 million in grant money through the ARPA funding that provided scholarships to help with short-term training and workforce training for eligible unemployed and underemployed Johnson County residents. So utilizing these dollars to be able to help upskill and provide opportunities for these individuals to be trained through the ARPA dollars. They have also completed a Johnson County Connect program, which is a 2-year transition program for young adults with mild intellectual and developmental disabilities, helping to be able to connect them to post-secondary education opportunities in Johnson County. At Labette Community College, just highlighting a few things from their end, they also embarked on an economic impact study. Specific to their findings from the economic impact study, they found that the average Labette Community College associate degree graduate will see an increase in annual earnings of $18,300 above what a student that has a high school diploma or equivalent in Kansas would be receiving. So if you compound that out and extrapolate that out over a working lifetime, that is an increase in earnings over a life of $823,000 by being able to work towards a degree at Labette Community College. So reassuring that there is benefit to being able to work towards the certificates and degrees at the community colleges. And then finally, at Coffeyville Community College, just highlighting a few of the points that speak to access, affordability, and success. 70% of Coffeyville's enrollment are Kansas residents, with over 85% of their students on some form of financial aid. Over the last 5 years, they've decreased their institution's default rate to below 6% and are continuing to see efforts that they have in place for default management, reflecting a lower rate there as well. And then the Coffeyville is also one of 2 community colleges recently to be named by the Aspen Institute, which is one of the top 150 institutions in the nation that is based on academic success, retention, persistence, and graduation rates. So just an example from across the state there of different efforts and work that is being done to address access, affordability, and success. And happy to stand for any questions.
All right, thank you, Ryan. We appreciate your report. Good information, good stuff going on. So any questions or comments? Excuse me. If not, we're going to move on and want to welcome Greg Nichols, president at Salina Tech. He's going to give us an update from the technical colleges.
All right, thank you, Vice Chair Frederick. I'm going to kind of go in reverse order here from what we have reported, but We never start with Washburn Tech, so we're going to start today with Washburn Tech. They're hosting a career fair coming up March 19th and 20th. Their tech advisory dinner for their workforce programs is March 27th. So they're going to have some different folks on campus to get those students out in the workforce. They're also going to host an annual car show. So get your antiques, your clunkers that aren't junkers out to Washburn Tech on May 3rd. They're going to host their annual car show there. Continuing ed courses are also available now at Washburn Tech. They include financial literacy, public safety, medical, billing, and coding. So that's what's going on in the Topeka area there. North Central Kansas Technical College, they hosted a GMAW, gas metal arc welding competition for college students on February 28th. So they're also hosting today for the high school students. Somehow they snuck them in on a leap day. So North Central will also host a ag mechanics competition on April 4th. And then registration days for NCKTC will be on both their Hayes and Beloit campuses in April and June. Kind of moving over to Salina Tech, we're doing a couple of things here. I can see they're actually doing stuff outside. Construction phase of our industrial maintenance and automation building has commenced. So they're digging holes, which for us is a great celebration, but for other people, it may not be that big a deal. It's been delayed a little bit due to some of those construction woes, permitting, all of that stuff, and the weather doesn't help sometimes. But it's probably going to, it's going to delay our implementation. So we're going to find some other spaces on campus to try and house that for a little bit, so we can get that building up and running. Also, we've partnered with Build Up Kansas. That is a organization that seeks to help instructors who move from industry jobs into teaching. So most of our instructors in the technical programs across the state understand they're typically not trained as teachers. So this is an organization that seeks to support that transition in their early part of their educational career. At Salina Tech, our enrollment trend has significantly increased again this semester. We've now reached our highest spring enrollment ever, and we're on pace to beat our annual enrollment, which is something that is tremendous for us, but it really makes it hard to park. I mean, I have to walk a little bit further today, and that's okay. I need the exercise. So these data show a little bit of difference on what we might expect. It indicated a decline in recent graduates attending higher education across the state and across the nation, but that's not what we're experiencing. We're actually getting more students that are coming from that are post-secondary students that have recently graduated. So they are seeking that specific education. They just may not be doing that in all universities or colleges across the country. Moving over to Northwest Tech, they have nearly completed or almost, I think they've had their grand opening at the Price Convention Center, February 24th. They opened it to the old Elks Lodge out there. It's a 20,000 square foot facility. You may have heard of it, but they have renovated that, put a lot of resources into that facility. Area legislators, alumni, employees, and community members were on hand for the event. The building was named after Zona Price, who served the college and the Goodland Elks Lodge for a combined 60 years of service. Their diesel program, a 5,000 square foot addition on their diesel tech facility, is near completion. Construction is slated to wrap up over the next month. Expansion will be ready to accommodate record levels of enrollment in their diesel program for fall of 24. Also, the tire Pyrolus plant. The college has partnered with a local environment or economic development organization to land the largest economic development project in the history of the county. The $320 million project just received authorization for IRB funding through the county and is expected to break ground later this year. The college will partner with Zero Waste LLC to provide commercial truck driving instruction, heavy equipment repair, and safety training. The new Pyrolus plant will bring 120 initial jobs once the plant is operational, and there are already plans afoot to expand. So that's a great, 120 jobs in some locations may not seem like a lot, but that is a significant impact to their community. WSU Tech, historic enrollment growth as well. They celebrate the second consecutive semester of record-breaking enrollment for spring of 24, largest enrollment ever with a head count of 5,893 students, and they have exceeded 50,000 credits for the first time. This record-setting growth makes it the largest semester in both overall and high school enrollment. They have over 3,000 high school students contributing to those numbers. Advancements in their Future Ready Centers for CTE programs, the establishment of Future Ready Centers in collaboration with Wichita Public Schools and the City of Wichita, alongside the sustained Excel and CTE funding, has led to 13% increase in student enrollment. This semester, 224 students are enrolled in the Future Ready Centers, including 98 in manufacturing and 126 in healthcare, making the largest semester for high school enrollment in both head count and credit hours in the college's history. Alignment with industry needs and increased enrollment, WSU Tech alignment with industry demands is reflected in the enrollment surges in key programs such as aviation maintenance, cloud computing, pre-health for registered nursing. This strategic alignment ensures students are well prepared for in-demand careers, highlighting the college's dedication to meeting both student and market needs. Also, significant improvement in student retention. WSU Tech has witnessed a remarkable 10% increase in student retention between fall of 2023 and spring of 2024 semesters, highlighting the effective impact of initiatives such as the Kansas Promise Scholarship and strategic emphasis on student support. All right, moving on to our partners in Manhattan. So MATC has over 100 persons enrolled in their ESL courses this semester, with a wide array of nationalities, including but not limited to relocated persons and families from Afghanistan, Iraq, and Ukraine. MATC will host 2 career fairs in March in cooperation with Kansas Works and other organizations. March 26th from 1 to 3, they're going to have their healthcare employers. And March 27th from 1 to 3, they're going to have all other trade programs. The events are open to the public. Over 40 employers have already registered for these events. Laura Wise Cook, the Director of Financial Aid for MATC, earned the FAAC designation from the National Association of Student Financial Aid Administrators Certified Financial Aid Administrator Program. The professional development track began in 2019 with NASFAA. Also, MATC is partnering with Midwest Dream Car Collection, Kansas State University, and the Extension Service, and McPherson College on a STEAM workforce development vehicle project to reach underrepresented populations around the state. All right, moving over to Emporia. Flint Hills Technical College Board of Trustees, the City of Emporia City Commissioners, and the Lyon County Commissioners publicly read and approved their different public meetings proclamation declaring February CTE month in support of Flint Hills Technical College programming and the Association of Career and Technical Education Public Awareness Campaign. Great collaboration by those organizations to recognize the importance of career and technical education. Flint Hills Tech College hosted its annual scholarship luncheon. They take some time away and celebrate their industry partners and those community members that have established scholarships, including Hills, Michelin, and Simmons, as well as a variety of families that get together with the students, and they talk about the passion they have for the students and the scholarships available. They love to hear those stories from the students and celebrate that connection. The college hosted a campus visits from representatives in the legislature, both nationally and locally, but in particular, Senator Marshall, Senator Moran, and Representative Jake LaTurner were on campus. The college partnered with the Emporia Chamber of Commerce and hosted February 17th, the first legislative dialogue of the 2024 session. They're going to continue that dialogue on March 16th. I'm sure that a lot of us speak with our representatives. So that's a really good connection with their local representation and the community. The college facilitated its second annual Enso Juntos on February 1. All sessions were delivered in Spanish and included presentations from student services, the adult education program, and community partners such as Kansas Works, Hispanics of Today and Tomorrow, Emporia Spanish Speakers, and the United Way of the Flint Hills. All right, there's a lot of things going on around the state. That does conclude my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions I can.
Okay, any questions or comments for Greg in his report?
Thank you.
Greg, thank you for stepping in Jim's absence, and congratulations to you and the good stuff that's going on there in Salina Tech.
Thank you. We're it's a hard shoes to fill. Jim does a good job with this. So
well, thank you. All right, we're going to move on. We have 4 items from the Technical Program and Curriculum Committee that are on the consent agenda. And I would accept a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Hey, Ray, this is Mike. I move to approve the 4 items on the consent agenda.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Is there a second?
Curtis seconds.
Second.
All right. Any questions or comments? If not, Susan, if you would call the roll, please.
Yes, I have a motion by member Bean and a second by member Sneeden. Member Anderson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Frederick,
Yes.
member Hess,
Yes.
member Hoover,
Yes.
member McCulka,
Yes.
member Rice,
Yes.
member Clark,
Yes.
and Chair Frederick. That concludes the roll call. Secretary Schultz did have to leave the meeting for a moment, and the motion carries.
All right, thank you. Okay, we're going to move into our section of other matters, and we're starting with a legislative update from Fred Patton. Fred, welcome back, and look forward to your report.
Well, very good. Good morning, everyone. So we are in week 8 of the legislative session. In some respects, it's flying by, and others, you wish it was further along at this point. But we have made it through turnaround. So that was last Friday. Turnaround's the date where a bill that starts in the House has to be out of the House, and a bill that starts in the Senate has to be out of the Senate, unless it's an exempt bill. So tax bills, appropriation bills, those types of things they don't have deadlines. So they'll keep lingering until they are dealt with. Update that the Board of Regents had a number of priorities that we introduced some bills. All the service scholarship bills that they introduced, we've got two of those moving forward, just some tweaks to those. The AOK program, we had a tweak to those, that's moving forward. Really, at this point in time, our focus is on the budget. All of the subcommittees, the Senate Ways and Means Higher Education Subcommittee, and then the House Higher Education Budget Committee, they have pretty much completed their work. And then they're now reporting out to the Senate Ways and Means and the Appropriations Committee. Currently, in fact, I was watching your meeting and the Appropriations meeting on my screen at the same time. Right now, in the House Appropriations Committee, they are working on the Board of Regents budget. They've decided this year to break things up, so they're dealing with just the board budget, and then they're going to work on the various pieces of that the rest of this week and into next week. So that's really where we're at. We've got about 30 days left of session. Towards the end of March is when they should have most of their work done, and then they conference, try to come up with agreements between the two chambers, and then they'll take off a good chunk of April and come back for a couple days for veto. So things are moving forward. Any questions about anything you're hearing or anything I've mentioned?
Okay, any questions, comments of Fred? Sounds like a session is moving along at a pretty good pace.
It's moving along fairly quickly. Leadership in both chambers want to get out as soon as possible, and so they're kind of focused on their priorities, and that's about it. I didn't go back and compare the number of bills they passed out before turnaround to what they've done in years past, but it seemed like a fairly light load last week. So I'm guessing a number of bills were stricken from the calendar because they didn't make it out of one chamber or the other by last week, which usually that's a good thing. Most of the bills that get introduced aren't necessarily positive, so it's a good thing that when bills start getting stricken.
Very good. Any questions? Thank you, Fred.
Absolutely, thank you.
Okay, next on our agenda, CTE Outreach Campaign Report, and we're going to hear from Tim. Are you there, Tim?
I am. Good morning.
Good morning.
I won't take too much of your time. Just wanted to give you a quick update on the CTE and Build Something Now, as we call it, campaign. This past fall, October through December, was our third campaign statewide. We did our first one in 2020, and then we repeated that with a few modifications in 2022. Specifically, we included a link to the Promise Act information, along with program search and the directory of institutions. And this is a mix of media and venues that target a 25-mile radius around the community and technical college main campuses. The results tend to be pretty consistent, actually. Toby, you might want to just bring up that data sheet to kind of break this out for you a little bit. Impressions are basically the what people view through these various media. Paid search is Google, of course. Social media includes Facebook and Instagram. DVD 360 video encompasses a lot of different platforms that run on Google and Amazon and Kindle. And then, of course, streaming video also includes lots of different platforms. You can see that the total impressions this time were 665,000 and some change, with clicks really quite a bit higher than in the past. We had nearly 8,000 or more than 8,000 clicks that go to the Build Something Now landing page that Cox created for us. That landing page is always up, but we try to drive traffic to it whenever we do these campaigns. You can see that the click-through rate varies considerably. The highest rate, obviously, coming from the paid search, but the highest number of clicks, obviously, given the far more or greater impressions through the 360 video campaign. This is what the search or the landing page looks like for some of you who may not have seen this before. It's really just an attempt to grab the viewer's attention, get them to actually click on one of the 4 sites to explore any number of different CTE programs that the institutions often offer collectively. I might just mention I'm no marketing expert, but I was talking to one just yesterday, as a matter of fact, who mentioned that typically viewers need to see an ad 8 times before they take action. So a lot of redundancy. This individual said it's kind of like you want to get them to the point where they're sick of seeing the ad until they do something. I can certainly appreciate that. Might also mention on these videos, I didn't include it on the data sheet, but the depending upon the venue, the videos get seen anywhere from about 65% completion to 93%, which is pretty high. If you're like me, excuse me, if you're on YouTube or some other streaming platform and you have the option to skip the ad, you tend to do that. There are ways to kind of combat that, but so we're really pleased with, most people tend to, when they do view the videos, tend to watch them. In fact, we have several versions of this video, a 10-second, a 15-second, a 30-second. A couple of those are also in Spanish. We did not target specifically the Spanish community in this ad, but let me show you, let me ask Tobe if he can show you the 15-second ad.
We are the dreamers. We are the doers.
We are the helpers.
We are the front line. We are the builders.
Build something now with Kansas Career Technical Education.
Thanks, Tobe. So it's quick. It tries to convey a sense of, urgency as well as excitement to try to get people interested. And I think it's timely as well, given the reports that we just heard from the community and technical colleges, particularly President Ruda. For tech ed, you all know, can lead to very good paying jobs, not just initially, but over the course of a lifetime, and reduce student debt and a lot of positive benefits. I'd like to think that some of the enrollment increases over the past 3 years have been the result of the campaign that we've done. And our recommendation is that it seems to be pretty effective for a relatively modest investment. These run about $6,000 to cover several months to generate this kind of interest. And assuming funding is still available through Perkins or other sources in the future, I would suggest that we continue doing it and updating it as appropriate. So Vice Chairman Fergret, I'll stop with that.
All right. Any questions, comments of Tim? Well, I would say, Tim, that clearly, the good work you do in the campaign, they have certainly raised the level of awareness of the value of technical education. And we just expect that to continue to grow. So good work. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, we're going to move on, and next report is on Carl Perkins update, and we've got, I understand, a tag team of Vera and Tobe on this report.
Good morning. I will get started and then we'll move on to Tobias's report. It is my pleasure today to give an update on the status of the Strengthening Career and Technical Education for the 21st Century Act, which we lovingly call Perkins 5. Because it's also really hard to say all that every time you mention it. We are in the second half of our fiscal year, which will end on June 30th, and it is a good time to see where we are while we are also in the process of preparing for the next fiscal year, which is 2025. It's kind of crazy to think about that. Perkins 5, I just wanted to remind everyone that it is a federal law which provides an allocation to state develop career technical education. Kansas receives over $12 million for CTE through Perkins, split evenly between the Kansas Department of Education for CTE at the K through 12 level and half to KBOR, where we support post-secondary CTE programs. There are a couple of terms I would like to address before we get to funding. One is special populations, which is listed on the first page of your issue paper. Special populations in Perkins are groups of students who face barriers to entering and succeeding in education, single mothers, English language learners, and other groups of students. The Kansas State Plan, you will probably hear us mention that several times. It is a document created by each state in order to receive Perkins funding. Some of the TEA members took part when it was created in 2019. And you remember that it goes through a very thorough stakeholder consultation, public comment processes to make sure that everyone's on the same page in the direction of CTE in Kansas. And the state plan, of course, guides the state spending of Perkins funds. Just very quickly, I would like to review how the Perkins allocation is spent. 85% of the pass-through funds goes directly to eligible recipients. Of that, 85% is formula-based, based on Pell recipients and full-time equivalent production of each institution, and 15% is reserved for a reserve fund, which is a competitive program where, for different reasons, RFPs, our requests for proposals, are put out and institutions compete for the funds available. 10% of the entire allocation goes to state leadership. Here we train the entire state on specific Perkins goals. It has to apply to the entire state to benefit the entire state, and 5% is for state administration. In the issue paper, we've listed out all of the grants that are out as of today. Some of them continue from last year, some of them are just for one fiscal year. But just very quickly, as you may see, the local grant is over $4.6 million. We call it the local grant. It is that pass-through formula-based allocation that each institution gets based on the full-time equivalent they generate and Pell recipients. Pell recipients because we know that you have to meet a certain threshold, and that shows need in students. The institutions have to write a 4-year plan themselves. We call it a 4-year application, and all of the spending must also be relevant to their comprehensive local needs assessment. For the reserve funds, right now we have a couple of reserve grants out, one of which is the Special Population Support Grant. This grant helps purchase classroom tools, classroom sets of textbooks, technology, and other supports for students in special populations. This year, we have awarded over $500,000 to institutions to purchase different types of equipment that are not available to students in special populations otherwise, and to support and remove barriers for students. Another grant that continues from fiscal year is the Kansas Industry and Labor Force Expansion Grant. In this effort, we have awarded over $900,000 to several recipients to work with their industry partners. To apply for this grant, institutions had to go out and identify their industry partners and write to specific industry needs. We will see the results of this grant at the end of this fiscal year. We are very anxious to find out what happened and how well we were able to support industry in our state. We've also this year started an initiative of putting our faculty in charge of some of the alignment that we do. We are not always experts in the areas that get aligned, so it is best when our faculty and our secondary teachers work together to create effective alignment between KSDE and KBOR. We have 3 institutions who have received funding for these initiatives, and the results are forthcoming in the future TEA meetings. This year has been very busy. We had to conduct another round of local needs assessment. It happens every 2 years. Our institutions have done a lot of work to update the needs assessment. In many cases, they had to reassemble their teams and do a lot of implementation work. So we have awarded $1,500 each to post-secondary institutions, and KSDE did the same for their contributors, where they can either pay stipends for the extra work of their Perkins staff, they can support travel and professional development, and provide resources that their teams need in order to complete the comprehensive local needs assessment. On the state leadership side, we've done several trainings, a lot of technical assistance, and we've worked a lot with corrections to support technical education, not only through the tools we have at the state level, but also it is a required set aside of Perkins. We have great partners in the Kansas Council for Workforce Education, KCWE, and Kansas Center for Career Technical Education at Pitt State. So we've worked with them to provide tuition-free workshops to our CTE teachers. We've worked to integrate academics and CTE through the Integrated Academics and CTE grant, and Laura has reported, our Associate Director Lady has reported on that initiative earlier this year. Tim mentioned and had a great presentation on the Build Something Now campaign. It is also funded by state leadership funds of Perkins. We just recently completed Bridging Success with Enrollment and Retention Strategies in Wichita, which trained our post-secondary education educators and administrators on equity and access for all students. We do provide a performance achievement incentive grant, which provides incentives for good performance in Perkins and reaching negotiated targets. We continue to train and provide assistance as needed to all institutions. We've over the course of last year, we've heard that these initiatives are helpful, so we'll continue to provide those. And I will pass the baton to my colleague, Tobias Wood, who will talk to you a little bit about the corrections effort that we have through Perkins.
Thank you very much. Members of the board, I'm on the Perkins Correction Update issue paper, which is next in your packet. And after I'm done, we'll bounce back to the Perkins 5 issue paper. Basically, part of our charge from the Perkins 5 law is to spend funds through leadership in the corrections institutions in the state. And you can see on the issue paper, the breakdown of those funds was nearly equitable. There was a couple of dollars changed from one to the next. Primarily, most of these institutions are using those funds to update and equipment in their programs to allow students to use industry standard equipment as they're training. You can also see from the issue paper the different programs that are offered throughout the state, including welding, sustainable renewable energy, telecommunications, construction tech, masonry, electromechanical maintenance, and adult basic education. Some of those results, as you can see in the issue paper again, there are some specifics that we have listed from the different programs that are offered. But overall, 281 credentials were reported in the FY23 final reports, and you can see a breakdown of those credentials. And not every program offers not every institution offers every program, and I'm not certain how well the students in the system are able to transfer between the correctional institutions in order to take advantage of different programs. But if they end up at one of the areas that offer this program, then hopefully they're able to take that specific program and learn from it. I know that the Ellsworth facility actually has production on the campus for one of the local businesses, and graduates from that welding program are able to go into that work and actually earn a wage while they're there. That's all I have. Does anyone have any questions?
Okay, any questions? I guess questions to either Vera or Tobe. Is that right?
Yes, we still have some more to discuss with the Perkins side, but I'm done with the corrections.
All right, let's go back to the Perkins then.
Well, the only things I wanted to mention is the Perkins work never ends, and we continue to not only ask for more reports, but we also continue to report to the U.S. Department of Education. And so we have recently exhaled the sigh of relief as to submit our consolidated annual report to the U.S. Department of Education, and we will bring that information to you after we hear whether or not we passed our test of last fiscal year. So we're going to be talking about Perkins more in the future meetings, but yes, please, if you have any questions or comments, we're happy to answer this.
All right, thank you to both of you and for this information, and so valuable to the work that we do and to the students that benefit from this. So thank you. We'll move on. And moving on to adult education corrections update from Sue. So Sue, welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I'm really glad to, as you all know, I get a little excited with this topic. So we talked about Tobe and Vera. I've already touched on this a little bit. What programs are where? And as you can see, Barton has two. They have the Larned facility, Ellsworth. Butler has El Dorado, Colby, Norton, Cali, Winfield, Hutch has Hutch. Kansas City, Kansas has Lansing. And then Neosho Community College, they do El Dorado, Oswego. It's a lot smaller facility. And then Washburn Tech does the women's prison in Topeka. One of the things that I wanted you to know is that Lansing is really one of our largest facilities. They run about 1,800. Hutch is around 1,700, and then El Dorado, those are our three largest facilities, right at about 1,675. So when we talk about corrections, corrections feels like there are about 50% of the inmates that come in that do not have a high school diploma. Next slide, please. So that is one of the things that we are looking at. We're trying to get them to get us better numbers, and that is self-reported. So that is not something that they know for sure that because I mean, we have to follow up on that and make sure they do not have a high school diploma. I wanted you to see some numbers. We are looking at people that open a GED.com account in corrections. Now, this is specific to corrections, was 568. Tests taken. That's just somebody that takes a GED test. 3,573. A test taker. That is somebody that just takes a test. They may take two tests, but they have not taken all four. A completer is someone that has taken all four tests, but they may not have passed all four tests. And then the passers are those individuals that have taken and passed all four tests to get their credential diploma. The pass rate for our facilities is 77%. We run in regular adult ed classes around 82 to 85%. But I want to talk about the caveat here. The national average for students in adult education, non-corrections, is 77%. That's the national average. So we are doing quite well with the pass rate of 77% in our corrections facilities. Because when you look at corrections, those pass rates do drop. A lot of those students come in at very low levels, And I think Eric will talk about this, but one of the interventions that is being done is really working on the reading. And I don't want to take Eric's stuff away from him, but working on those reading levels, because some of them are coming in at very low reading levels. We are also seeing dyslexia. And so there have been some trainings and some different things talking about dyslexia. What do we do with those students? So those are just some of the interventions that we are looking at. When I talk about college ready or college ready plus credit, those are students that have scored a little bit higher. They're not just passing the test, they are getting through, and they're ready for college, they're ready for those classes, and we are really happy to see some of our correction students being in that realm. Next. I think that might be it for me. But I think one of the things that you just obviously saw was how well Perkins funds, our community colleges, and those professionals in adult education are doing with this population. They are doing unbelievable things, and they work hard and tireless. And as we all know, that's a different environment to go in and educate than a regular adult education program. And they're kind of our unsung heroes when we look at our adult education individuals that are in the facilities. And I also want to say hats off to our community college presidents that support these programs. They support this staff, and it's tireless. And I do want to thank all of those facilities that provide funding and provide staff to help out our corrections people, because they are our neighbors. They are coming out of facilities, and it makes a 50% difference on recidivism with just the high school diploma. So people can be more successful with that high school diploma, coming out and seeking jobs and seeking further education. Do I have any questions?
Any questions of Sue? Sue, I'm wondering about the men's facility there in Topeka. Is there any movement towards having a program there?
We don't have a men's facility in Topeka. You mean the women's facility?
No, isn't there a youth facility?
Yes, there is a youth facility that is under Smoky Hill. That is under a little bit separate than what the adult facilities are. But yes, we do have a facility there. They offer GED programs in adult education. So those students actually have a path of either doing a high school diploma in the facility, or they can do the GED. So we are in those facilities, but it's not run by one of our educational institutions.
Okay. Well, also very impressed with that pass rate of 77%. I thought that is impressive, I must say. So congratulations. And this work that's going on inside these facilities, I mean, it is, as you already know, it's life-changing for these individuals. So thank you for your effort and your leadership in this area. I appreciate it, Sue.
Well, and I would like to invite any of you board members to go to a graduation. It is heart-wrenching to see these individuals walk the stage, and in so many of our facilities, family members and their children in the audience, but also on the community college side and getting their technical certifications. It is a really, really positive environment to see that. So thank you guys so much, and have a great day.
Well, thank you. All right, we're going to move on. We have a report on adult education, professional development. Do I have that right?
Yes, sir, you do.
Eric.
Thank you, Chair Frederick, and good morning to both you as well as the members of the TEA. This will be another informational presentation It's my chance and my honor to talk about professional development and some of the activities that we're doing across the state. Like Perkins, professional development never stops. And so it is a continual year-round basis. And so we just roll all the good things from year to year. Appreciate again Tobias working the slides. But if we just some things to bring out to everyone's attention. If you want to go farther down, please, Toby, that'd be great. You can see there some of the things that we do across the state, and there's way more than that. But college and career readiness standards, those are, if I was building a home, that would be the foundation, right? That's a concrete slab that we want to have for our teachers to go and be successful in the classroom. It's a national initiative. So the college and career readiness standards are some training that everyone goes through. Program directors then working with their staff. You could either specialize in English language arts, or you can specialize in math. And so, or both. If we have teachers who teach across both of the spectrums, then they do both the trainings. And so I just want to give a shout out to Dr. Anderson, that if she knows good educators who are leaving the K through 12 profession, and yet we want to continue to work in adult ed, we will always take good teachers. So we are always on the lookout for quality instruction. In addition, we have becoming an adult educator. So if we have people who are new to the profession as far as what it means to be in the adult ed classroom, we have that program there that people do. And you can see there by all the X's, all 20 programs across the state have people who are going through those trainings. In addition, we have student achievement in reading, or called STAR, as well as Reading Horizons. And that's what Sue just alluded to a little bit ago, is that we want to work with our instructors to equip them to be the best possible, so they can then turn and help students. We have some students come to us, however, whether they're new to our country or new to our state, or something happened in their life, but we have people who come in at grade level equivalency of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, just depends on where they're at. And so we want to help those people learn how to read. We feel very passionately that the ability to read is what opens doors. And so we know that adult education can be a game changer, and it's important to us that people leave our programs knowing how to read. Toby, if you don't, I'm sorry, Associate Director Woods, if you don't mind going a little bit farther down. Thank you, sir. And so again, there you look at that second paragraph, it talks about STAR. STAR focuses on what we call intermediate level readers, whereas Reading Horizon, which is a new program that we've implemented in the state, focuses on beginning or low level readers. That last line there in that second paragraph is that we're working to create a comprehensive reading plan. And Chair Frederick, it's important for you to know that Director Martinez and I have been on national Zoom calls, and we will be in Kansas at the tip of the spear if we can get this comprehensive reading plan off the ground. No one has it at the adult ed level, which is very surprising and frustrating, but it gives us a chance to be at the forefront here in Kansas. And so the idea is to create a stair-step model that we can just simply hand those students off as they move up the different rungs of the ladder in regards to their reading abilities. And then again, I look forward to hopefully a year from now, or 2 years, it'll probably take longer than that, I apologize, 2 years from now, coming back to you and talking about what we've been able to do in Kansas and how we are leading the nation in that regard. Next one really to bring to your attention would be a shout out to Kelly Mowbray at Salina USD 305. She's one of our 20 programs, and really is focusing on mental health for students, which is needed across the entire state. And so she led 2 presentations this fall. It was well attended. We did it like over a lunch, like a brown bag special, and it was great attendance and great information. And so Kelly's one of our leaders in the state, and want to give her recognition. And then as we move further down, and thank you again, Tove, for what you're doing with the slides. I created, I'm not quite that fast. Yep. I created or cajoled or twisted the arm and begged people to form a subcommittee to help me as far as, what direction do we want to go with professional development? And so those 5 regions there, just a shout out to Justine from Hutchinson, Chris Boxberger at Manhattan Tech, Stephanie Pritchard from Kansas City, Kansas Community College, Krista Clay at Neosho County, and of course, Sherry Watkins at Butler are a part of that team and help me as we move forward with professional development, not only this current year, but in the future as we make changes. We are constantly trying to pivot and do the best we can with our professional development funds that we do receive from OCTAE, the federal government. As Vice President Johnson stated earlier in her report, just the last couple of days, we've been at had the Kansas Adult Education Association Conference here in Topeka. That has historically been in Wichita, but we're under new leadership as far as from within the state. And so we moved it. We're trying hard to have a greater advocacy. And so we moved that to Topeka, and we had a chance to go yesterday to the Capitol, and we received various awards. And I'd like to give a shout out to our very own Susanna Lee, who was awarded the Distinguished Service for 2024. And so great job, Susanna. And then you can see there, thank you to perfect timing. There's a picture of some of us from Adult Ed with the governor, and she recognized that yesterday was Adult Education Day. So a lot's happening, but we definitely need more advocacy across the state about how adult education can help change people's lives. And with that, I'll close and stand for any questions.
All right, any questions of Eric or comments? Congratulations on all the good work there, and especially for the Adult Education Day. Yes, exactly. Good work. So, all right. Thank you, Eric. Okay, next we're going to call Tobe back, and he's got a report on the methods of administration and update. So, Tobe, you're back.
Yes, I am. Thank you very much. This is what I call the best kept secret in the workforce development side of the world. And I've got a set of slides for you, but the issue paper just basically gives you some basics of what this is and what this does, and I'll give some further context in the presentation. All right, are you able to see the methods of administration slide?
Got it.
Okay, very good. So the method of administration is basically the first phrase of what the Office of Civil Rights has told us that we need to do with this. So states must develop and maintain methods of administration and the related procedures as they carry out civil rights obligations under the Vocational Career Technical Education Guidelines. And those guidelines are set up by the Office of Civil Rights, which is a division of the Department of Education. So the reviews that we do with post-secondary, the goals are to ensure compliance with federal rights laws, civil rights laws, ensure administrative accessibility, and we'll discuss what that means soon, and also ensure physical accessibility on campuses that deliver career technical education. I have a QR code here if anyone is interested in snapping that with your phone or with your tablet. You can then go to that takes you to the Kansas MOA program webpage on the workforce development side of our website. Basically, what it does is it gives an overview of what the role is in Kansas and what we do as post-secondary to fulfill that role as Office of Civil Rights wants us to. That website includes several documents, including the Kansas MOA plan that discusses how we do what we do, the regions for the MOA plan review that identifies which institutions are up for a review if they get the desk audit. So that's a geographic issue. And then we also have the on-site coordinator's manual. And the reason I put our playbook in parentheses is we want the institutions to know how it is that we are going to review them. So we give them, if you were to use the analogy of a football game, we're giving them our playbook so they know exactly what we're going to ask and exactly how we're going to ask it. So if they have our playbook, then hopefully they will then take that playbook and do some self-evaluation with some targeted technical assistance if they choose. So the purposes of the MOA review, again, are to identify disproportionate enrollment at the institutions, to identify areas of possible discrimination, and you can see some of those possible areas. We do a physical accessibility review, and we create a plan to address any violations that we find. And then we provide technical assistance as institutions try to update their facilities or their administrative policies. So this is the review process for post-secondary. There is a secondary side to this at KSDE. Andy Ewing is their secondary MOA coordinator. But on the post-secondary side, this is kind of how we do what we do. So we divide the institutions into geographical areas, and we move from one geographical area to the next each time we do a desk audit. A desk audit is basically a review of information data that has been supplied to us through the Kansas Higher Ed data system. From there, we apply points to the institutions based on some different categories. It's like golf, you don't want points. And then the two institutions with the highest point totals are then reviewed that year. We do a review of documents and policies and procedures at those institutions. We do that remotely. They send us information and we go through it. But then we actually do on-site. We do interviews and we conduct the on-site accessibility review. We're going to get a little taste of that today. So this, I didn't mention this earlier. This is very similar to the presentation that I gave last year, but I know that we've got some new members, and that's why I was encouraged to provide this update. After that review is done, recommendations are made. We also identify best practices. We also share best practices across the state, because every time we go to an institution, we find something that someone is doing that's doing very well that we want to share. We identify those findings, and then we create a plan to address those findings. So the desk audit is, like I said, it's just basically looking through the data that we have. One of the other key components is the number of years since the last on-site review. And I can tell you that after this review of this year, all of our institutions will have been reviewed in this century. That wasn't the case last year. So we're doing our part to try to make sure that everybody gets a chance to go under the microscope, so to speak. It is also important that I mention that disproportionate enrollment is not considered a discrimination, but it could be an indicator of possible discrimination. So all that does, when there are increased point totals, it causes us to look a little bit deeper into the causes. So each institution annually must create what they call what I call the annual notice of non-discrimination. And the highlighted areas are the required sections of this. So each institution is required to say that they do not discriminate on the basis of race, color, sex, national origin, or disability. Some of them choose to go beyond that and create a larger, more broad version of this. Another component is that they must give basic programmatic information. So in this example, AZ Community College offers career technical education in ag, business and office technology, health sciences, automotive repair and refurbishing, carpentry, and welding. The next requirement is that they discuss their admissions policies. Well, in Kansas, it's fairly simple because these are all open admissions colleges. And so that, like I said, it's not rocket science. The next required piece is basically identifying a Title IX coordinator, a Section 504 coordinator, with an address, with a phone number, and hopefully a website. So this is where I'd like you to take part in this. If you're anyone that's listening, take your phone or your computer and go use a search engine to go to your favorite institution that offers CTE, and maybe go to their website and take a look. And if you scroll right to the bottom, that is where most of our institutions identify their non-discrimination notice. You will see at the footer, some of them will have a link to a non-discrimination notice where you click that link and it takes you to some of those pages. You might also look for specifically the name or position title of someone who's coordinating Title IX and Section 504 services for that institution. Hopefully you're able to find that within 1 or 2 clicks. that is something that we check each year, is basically how long it takes us to get to those pages. And this is an example of an accessibility best practice. So what we're seeing on the left, excuse me, on the right, is the example from the 2010 ADA standards for protruding objects. This is for someone who might have a visual disability who is using a cane to detect hazards. And you can see that there's a potential issue with a stairwell on the left. But what this institution has done to remove that or to mitigate that hazard is to add a bench. And so someone who's using a cane for mobility and navigating the space could find that bench and therefore avoid taking a header into that open staircase. These are some examples of what we call administrative best practices. So this is what you would see in the report if we see some of these things. So this is an example of praising an institution for doing it right. For instance, I'll read the second one. Interviewed students indicate they understand how to request support services. Advisors, teachers, and administrators echoed this. So this is kind of typical verbiage as we go through those administrative pieces. All right, welcome to my world. I know that some of you didn't think you'd be seeing an image of a bathroom today, but then here we are. So this is part of what I do. I walk around with gloves and a tape measure, and I measure things. And a lot of the violations that we see at our institutions aren't structural. They are they have to do with the add-ons that are placed, likely in this case, in the restroom. So there are 2 violations here. I'll give you a couple minutes or a couple seconds to take a look at that. And now I'm going to show you what one of those violations is. So the toilet seat cover dispenser is way too high. If I was a wheelchair user, I would not be able to reach that. And let's find the standard. So the standard is an unobstructed forward reach must not be more than 48 inches above the finished floor. And so the suggestion would be to remount the toilet cover dispenser. So the operable part, which is the tab where they pull a new sheet out, is within the unobstructed forward reach range to comply with the 2010 standard 308.2.1, and also the diagram on the bottom 309 or 609.3, the spacing of grab bars. Basically, the grab bar is meant to help someone navigate the transfer from the wheelchair onto the toilet seat. And if they don't have 12 inches above that grab bar, that means that they can't use that grab bar. And that is our next violation, is the toilet paper dispenser is too close to the grab bar. And so here is that change, and here's the recommendation. So this is what the institution would actually see in our report. So remount the toilet paper dispenser 12 inches clear, blah 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 blah. And so that someone can actually use that dispenser. This is an example of an admissions form, online admissions form that we see. And there is what we call a pre-admissions inquiry violation in this page. And I would like anyone to speak up and see if they can recognize it. I know you all know the standards, so now I'm going to help you out. There is a premarital inquiry here. So they're not allowed to ask prior to an individual becoming a student. Institutions are not allowed to ask whether a person is married, whether they are a parent, or whether they have a disability. And that includes adding something like Mr., Mrs., or asking for a maiden name or a previous name. Those are indicators of marriage, and so those are considered pre-admissions inquiries. Now, once a person becomes a student, then they can ask all of these demographic data that they may need. But these are 3 areas that they are prohibited from asking prior to that person becoming a student. We also provide technical assistance to the institutions. Part of that is hey, guess what? This is coming. This is what right looks like at our WIOA conference that we host every year. We also provide targeted technical assistance once an institution is found to be, once they know that they're going to get a review, we basically have a webinar that says, hey, guess what? Here's what you need to do now. And then we walk them through the process of collecting documents, collecting policies and procedures, and then we allow them to request technical assistance as they need later on. So here's the why of all this, the best kept secret in the workforce development part. Institutions delivering career tech ed must take steps to avoid intentional or unintentional discrimination against students or employees. That's the goal of the Office of Civil Rights and the charge that they have applied to this position. The second why is it's the right thing to do. And my favorite is my favorite little contraction, three words. It's the law. Well, why do we need to do this? Well, number one, it's the law and it's the right thing to do and we have to do it. So if an institution kind of bucks a little bit and is not wanting to follow some of the guidelines that I've been sharing with them, I remind them that it is the law, and that's why I put the show up. So this is the folks that we see that help with this. So I'm in the upper left. Laura Leite, Associate Director for Adult and Career Technical Education, is the Assistant MOA Coordinator. Ray Petty is our ADA expert from the Great Plains ADA Center. He provides great technical assistance for me if there's a question that I need to ask, if there's a standard that I don't know. He is great. And like I had mentioned earlier, Andy Ewing is the secondary MOA coordinator. So he does the same thing that I'm doing here for post-secondary schools. He does that same thing for secondary schools. And that's all I have. Does anyone have any questions?
Okay, thank you, Tobe. Any questions of Tobe or comments regarding his presentation? Well, I appreciate your effort in this area of compliance. Sometimes overlooked, and but very important. So
thank you.
Thank you for what you do there. All right, just a quick reminder, our next meeting is March 28th. And that will be a face-to-face meeting in Topeka at the Regent's office. So hope you all have that on your schedule. Again, March 28th at 10 a.m. If there's no further business, I would call this meeting adjourned. So thank you to all. We had a lot of very good information, very positive activity in our state, and we should be very proud and supportive of the effort. So we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ray.
Thank you, Ray.
Thank you.